work on the barrel. We're going to work on getting these little guys to fit in here. And the directions say that you're supposed to come in from the right to the left. And I'm guessing that's with the tang facing you. So we would come in from this side, going that way. That way. And it says if it doesn't fit, you should lay some sandpaper down and drag it across the sandpaper to get it to shallow out, because the smaller that surface area is, the more likely it is to slide in there, because as you're dragging it, you're shortening the width of that dovetail. So we'll work on this process today. That'll be our project today. I'll probably not put these all the way in because I definitely don't want to brown the sights. So I'll see if I can get them started. And it says that you want to be able to get them a third of the way before you start knocking them in with a pin and a hammer. So we'll see if we can get those a third of the way in by hand, and then we'll stop. But these guys, we'll go ahead and get these guys in and leave them in there when we go to brown the barrel. Slowly getting there. It says you need to be able to force it in by hand about a third of the way before you stop and then start tapping it in with the hammer and the punch. All right, we've got this one to where we're a third, maybe a little more than a third of the way in just by hand. So we're going to stop sanding there. And then we'll take it over to the vise, put it in the vise, and tap it in with the punch. But here's a little tip. They say to use 400 grit sandpaper to size this thing down. If you do that, prepare to hang out for about 3 weeks, because I went with 320 and wasn't making any progress. Dropped it down to 220 and started making progress. So I'd say go with a 220, and when it starts getting close, start cleaning it up with a 320 or 400 so that it's smooth on the bottom and it'll go in a little easier. But if you start with a 400, it's gonna take forever to get enough material off to get it in there a third of the way. So go with something a little more aggressive. Just watch how much material you're taking off and clean it up, and then you should be good to go. But if you want to do the 400, do it. It's just going to take a lot longer to get that much material off. As you can see, we got the barrel mounted in a vise here. I got this foam pad to protect the barrel, and we've got the tin started by hand, and we're just going to try to, as they said in Caddyshack, just tap it in, tap it in. I have to do a little bit more sanding on it. Because it's not acting like it wants to go. It may not be ready. Well, my phone ran out of memory while I was in the middle of this, but thank God this is on the bottom of the barrel, because that's pretty ugly. I would say when you go to sand these down, I would say be able to push them in by hand at least halfway instead of a third, because that was a third, and then it required that much hammering to get the dovetail in all the way. So I would advise sanding off a little more than what they say. They say be able to push it in about a third. But man, it took a lot of hammering to get that in there. All right, we got the second pinion knocked in here, tendon knocked in here. A little less damage, but something that you should probably know is that even if you grind these down to where they'll fit in this dovetail, you're going to have to file those this T part here, the underside of it, because it's going to drag on this dovetail. You can see how it's pinched in right there. You're going to have to file those to make clearance. No matter how much you file this down, the base of this down, those the flat part of this, the underside of it's going to drag the top of the barrel. You can see on this one how it drug the top of the barrel. This one I didn't file, and it was really hard to get in there. And this one I filed, and it wasn't quite as hard. And I'm gonna have to figure out a way to tap the sights in, because there's no way in crap I'm gonna do this on the top, because it's just too hard getting these in here with these tenons. I'm beating the crap out of the bottom of the barrel. I'm hoping that the sights will go in a whole lot easier, because I'm not going to put this much pressure on the sights to get them in. All right, so we hung up the barrel, wiped it down with some carburetor choke cleaner, get any grease or anything that might be on it off. We got it hung up. I got about a foot or so of baling wire, up to 2 D-rings, and then I've got some 550 cord. And I'm hoping that the heat from heating this up will dissipate between the cord and the 2 D-rings before it gets to that 550 cord. So we'll watch it real close and see what happens, so we don't end up with the barrel falling in the floor. All right, just finished browning the barrel. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. I focused on keeping it even on the top. Wasn't too worried about the bottom of the barrel. But yeah, pretty happy with the way it turned out. Just a few places that didn't blend, mostly down in here, but I think I'm the only person that'll see it because I know it's there. But it's how it is when you work on something. You're always your own worst critic. But yeah, I'm very happy with how this has turned out so far. This was a bit more of a challenge today, putting those dovetails in than I thought. And I got this barrel's wiped down in rim-oil right now, because it says once you're happy with the color and the tint, wipe everything down and then put a thin coat of oil on it to let it set overnight and cure. So this is what we got color-wise, and I'm pretty happy with it. We'll clean these dovetails up tomorrow and put in the sights. And then after that, I think we got one more day for the stock to cure, and then we can put it together. But very happy with it. Just a tip for everybody: in small print on this bottle on the back, very small print right here, talking about dangers and stuff. Do this in a well-ventilated area. As usual, it was raining today and hot, and I had the door down. And after about a third coat, I started feeling a little funky. I was like, man, I don't feel good. Feel a little lightheaded. Looked at the bottle, sure enough. Make sure you are in a well-ventilated area, because it says the fumes off of this, when it hits the hot metal, are not good for you. So make sure you're ventilated when you're working on this stuff with the plum brown. All right, we got the rifle down off the wire, wiped out some of the oil off of it, and now we're getting ready to sand down these sights and get them in the dovetails. I'm finding that the dovetails on all of this stuff is significantly bigger than the hole that there is for it to go to through. So you got a good bit of sanding to do to even get it close to where it'll go in the dovetail. So it's got another strip of 220 here, and we'll go at it. This isn't, I don't think, as bad as the Tinians were as far as size wise, so I don't think we'll have to grind as much on this as we did this Tinian. All right, we got the side in and did it without tearing up anything. Got a little bit of a scratch right there from the side itself where I drug a corner across of it. But it's in there. I got it centered up. Didn't require too much effort. There is a lot of material on these dovetails. As you can see, I ended up working the file a little bit to get the bulk of it off. But I've said a million times, go easy. Check it often, because once you get the metal off of there, you can't put it back on. But there's a lot of material on the bottom of these dovetails. Their instructions say just to use 400 grit sandpaper, but man, you'd be here for 2 weeks to get all that material off with 400 grit. So now we'll put the side on the front, this little blade sight, and see how that one goes. All right, we got the back side in, and we got the front side in, and we didn't scar up the barrel. We didn't dent it or scar it up. The only scratch is, you can't see it, there's a little scratch right there, and that was just from me moving the side around on it. That's not from it hitting anything. I took a hickory dowel rod and cut off about a 4-inch piece of it. I used that to tamp them in, and it went pretty smooth. Put the barrel in the vise and tapped them in. Remember, you want these to be a lot looser than these guys. You don't want these to move at all. These you want in there nice and snug, but you still want to be able to tap them left and right in case you need to adjust windage on the rifle, because that's all you got is windage. If you need to adjust elevation, then you're going to have to sand down the front blade. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'll be straight up honest, like a moron. I mounted this in backwards and had to take it out and turn it around. But the dovetail's still tight, which is good, which means I can move it around back and forth and it's not going to move. It's nice and snug. But yeah, I put that side in flip backwards with the slope phasing this way. So remember, your flat goes towards you and your slope goes away from you. So as you're running through the woods, chasing Indians and marauders or whatever, you can run through the woods and it'll slide right across whatever you bang it into for whatever reason. Anyway, flat goes on the back, and everything's centered up really well. Also, when you go to center this up, don't center the dovetail up on the flat. Center the brass on the flat, because I was focused for some reason on the dovetail. I think because I'd focused on the dovetail on the back. But the brass blade is not in the center of this base. So one side of your dovetail is going to be off to the left or the right because the blade's not centered on the dovetail. But I got those in. Everything's looking good. We got another coat of True Oil on the finish, letting that harden up, and we'll probably put 2 or 3 more coats on that to get it nice and smooth. And it's coming right along. So far we got, I think, 4 days. I think I've been doing this with you guys for 4 days now since I started. Just a little bit every day, 2 or 3 hours here and there. And patience, patience, patience. I got to stain the ramrod. Totally forgot that while I was out staining stuff. So we'll get that done. And see you guys in a bit.